Hello, Dr. Debbie. How are you
Hello.
today?
Good, good, good.
I'm so excited to see you. You always just make me smile when I see you.
Likewise.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I know that your time is important and precious, and I'm so grateful that you're here presenting and chatting with us for the Me Time for Mom community.
Hello, community.
And you have so graciously decided to gift a copy of your book, a personalized signed copy of your book. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Great.
All right. So I know everybody wants to dive right in. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely happy to. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to talk about my book. I'm really excited to do that. No surprise. I live in New Hampshire. I own my own business called Flourishing Families, which can be found at familynh.com. I coach parents and families, consult, do some workshops as well. And I have a link to my book there. I also have a link to lullabies that I wrote for my sons, which can be downloaded. So head over to my website at some point. I also have a husband, three grown sons, two daughters-in-law, two cats, about 50 wild turkeys in my backyard. And recently we've seen a bobcat, fox, and deer in our backyard, which we absolutely love. So yeah, it's a great spot here in our little piece of heaven in New Hampshire. But I currently teach positive psychology at New England College, which is close to where I live. And it's interesting because teaching positive psychology there has found its way into the book. So being able to incorporate some positive psychology with the family science ended up working out really well. So I started on this book about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, shortly after I received my PhD. So this is a long time coming. I started putting things together. I consider myself the acronym queen. So I started putting together things that I saw really connecting, putting them together in an acronym. So I started with RICE. And then I remember somebody asking me at a conference, oh, is that like the rest, elevation, ice and all that? And it's like, uh-oh, I can't do RICE. So I switched it to RICER, and I threw in another strategy that I thought worked really well. Well, more study, more research, more work on the book. It ended up with E.N.R.I.C.H. And of course, you can see rice embedded with that. So ended up with E.N.R.I.C.H. and which is basically 14 strategies. And I'll talk about those as we go. But it included personal stories, things that I got from my son's journals that I kept as they were growing up. I've got specific dialogue to help parents understand what they could really say. It's one thing to read, oh, you should do this, but it's another to actually read. How does that look in real life? What does that sound like in real life?
And that's
One,
gold. That's what we need.
yes, exactly, exactly. One of the other things that I did too that I think is somewhat unique, I know some books do it, but, and I just got a spot here. Uh-oh, this might end up not working with my little, but you can see that I have spots for examples within
Yes.
the book. Um, and I did that intentionally for the very same reason. It's much easier for somebody to learn something if they also get to practice. Because let's face it, when we're in the heat of a moment, no parent's going to be able to stand there and go, what did the R stand for? So you have to have that opportunity to practice it. So I give opportunities within the book. And then I've also got a summary in each chapter and a blank page at the end of a chapter for people to jot down notes that they have. So a lot of things went into that. A lot of adult learning theory and positive psychology, family science, etc., went into the book.
Yes, and it's apparent. I mean, I enjoyed reading it so much. It's exciting. You have these little different boxes, just like you said, the places to write things down. It's a usable book. It's not that you read it, put it down, and then forget it about it. That's not what this is. So it's
Good.
a great way for parents to actually get in there and go, I can do this. It gives you the confidence too. But we also can revert back a little bit to, a couple of years ago, what happened when the world kind of shut down and we all sort of said, okay, I don't have as much confidence. What's going on? And we had to be resilient. Can you
Yes.
talk to us about that?
Yes. Yes. One of the I talk about 14 different strategies, which are literally following that E.N.R.I.C.H acronym. But as I was finishing the book is when we were going through the beginning, the middle, and please, the end of COVID. um, and one of the things that really struck me is that we can have all sorts of knowledge, which I hope I do help impart in those 14 strategies. But it's also having a sense of resilience and being able to move through it. So some of the things that I talk about in that particular chapter is staying positive. And you'll notice throughout the book, I have a positive theme.
Yes, for sure.
Examples that yeah. So staying positive through all of that. But a really important piece is demonstrating in some way, shape, or form that you are in control. Children really have an issue when they feel everything in their life is out of control. So if we use COVID as an example, if the parent is really bothered, obviously there were many things to be very bothered about. But when a parent can demonstrate, hey, we're going to get through this. Don't worry, I'm doing what I can to make this better. Let's say you have a flooded basement from torrential downpours or a hurricane. We lived through quite a process when we were there in Texas, where the roof was damaged, windows were broken, things were strewn all over our front lawn. That's trauma. And fortunately, we did not have young children at the time. But being resilient by showing that you are in control of the situation. That happened. I didn't want it to happen, but I know some things to help it be better. That does a whole lot to help the child. One of the other things that I talk about is trying to keep tradition and routine as much as possible. The routine in particular, because that's that daily process. Get up, go to school, get up, have breakfast, brush your teeth, go to school, et cetera, come home, do your homework. Okay, maybe that can't happen in your house, or maybe that looks like you're going to school in front of a screen. But what is that routine that builds up to it, and what is that routine getting ready for bed? When's your bedtime? Those kinds of things. Keeping it as much as possible in a routine is helpful. The traditions too. If you go see a movie every Sunday afternoon, even if it means going to a center that's open and watching on your iPad, sometimes when power outages, you have no power, you have to go to one of the centers that's open that has power. All right, no problem, but it's Sunday afternoon. We're going to sit here and watch our movie together. Whatever ritual you can that keeps that connection for the child also helps them reduce that stress. And of course, speaking of stress, finding stress reducers for you as well as your child. Can they still get together with friends? Wonderful. Make that happen. Even if it means masks are on, can you get together? Can you get together outside? Can you get together at somebody's house who wasn't damaged? Whatever it is, stress reducers for you. I do have a section in the book on stress, stress for parents, stress for children. And I give a long list of things that you can do to de-stress. So that is part of being resilient. Talk about the situation, age appropriately. Obviously, a 3-year-old, you're not going to explain what the insurance adjuster said to you on the phone. But Your 14-year-old may want to know,
Yeah.
okay, well, the insurance adjuster said this is what we need to do. Can you help me get this together? Having them involved in the process gives them a sense of control too. And then watching for signs of stress in yourself as well as your child. Are they really quiet when they're normally chatty? Or are they normally the opposite? Are they normally quiet or normally chatty? If they're different, that can be a sign of stress. Watch for signs of stress in you. Are you biting at everything that somebody says? That might be a sign that you need some stress reduction or some help. Humor. Even in times of stress, we can use humor. It has to be age appropriate, and it has to be done in an acceptable way to the child. What's humorous to us as adults is not always humorous to a child, and especially in times of trauma. You don't want to be, the sarcasm probably will not work between
No, the
adults.
children actually take it the opposite.
Exactly.
That happened
Exactly.
to somebody that I know. The child took it as for real, and the parent was like, "I was being sarcastic," and I mean
Yeah.
that happens. But that's one of the reasons why I love this book so much, is because you have all of these like amazing nuggets and places to write things down. But humor, that's not usually one you see in parenting books.
Correct. Correct. And I'm glad you brought that up because humor, normally I mention if somebody says, well, what's the one big thing? Encouragement is the one that usually comes to mind. That's one of the E's. Because you can always use encouragement. Just about any time, any situation, you can use encouragement. But humor is a close second. Can even be a first sometimes. Humor is something that we've kind of forgotten as adults is helpful for children. And again, has to be age appropriate. It must be age appropriate. And it has to be seen as humorous to your point of your story. If the child doesn't think it's funny, it's not funny. You need to move on. We don't want to say things like, oh, come on, that was funny. If it's not funny to them, that's not humor. So we want to use humor in a way that, number one, it grabs their attention. And I've actually done not a real study, but I've done my own checking on this. I've had a variety of jobs through the years. One of them was with a family resource center. And so I would do play groups. I would run parent and child play groups. I've also been a provider for a preschool. So anyway, all those situations, I've tested it out before. So let's say you have an obstinate child. Very common, which, by the way, they are being age appropriate when they're being obstinate. It's one thing that when I tell parents that, they look at me funny. It's like, yes, a child will misbehave. That is their job. And parents look and it's like, yeah, if your child is not misbehaving, there's something wrong. Get them to the doctor. When we switch our mindset to think that a child is supposed to misbehave, it helps us handle that very differently. And the reason they misbehave is because they're testing boundaries. They have to test those boundaries to understand how they fit within the boundaries. So humor comes in when they're testing those boundaries. Again, we're being proactive with it, right? All right, here it is. The child doesn't want to wear their gloves going outside. It's cold. I want them to wear their gloves. I give the example in the book about Bethany says, no, I don't want to wear my gloves. And so the parent says, no problem at all. I'm going to put the gloves on your ears. That will work then, right? Well, for a 3-year-old, they're going to look at you like, what? Gloves don't go on ears. And then they will smile. Or they may not smile. They may say, no, not on my ears. Oh, goodness, you really don't want your gloves today. I hear what you're saying. Well, your gloves and I had a conversation before, and they said they really wanted to go outside today. I wonder how they're going to get outside. Now, this is all humorous, and a 3-year-old will understand this is humorous. It breaks the tension. It prevents that power struggle of, yes, you will, put your gloves on right this second, or you're not going out at all. That's not what you want. You want them to get outside. So using humor breaks that tension. It also can reduce stress. Let's face it, when we have a good laugh, I've literally had people tell me before, yeah, when I have a good laugh, I can get a deep breath. I feel better. Hormones in our brain, serotonin says, oh, you're feeling good. So that laughter triggers all of this and helps us start off on a better foot. So humor is very, very important. The other thing I tell parents is to think about the people they enjoy being with. Are they always morose? Are they always telling you sad stories? Are they always needing something from you? Are they always telling you what you did wrong? Chances are they are people that make you smile, make you laugh, that you enjoy being with. Why would we expect any different with our own child?
Yeah.
So humor, amusement, laughter, fun, all those things, which by the way, create half. So I tell parents to be a half parent, a humorous parent, an amusing parent, a laughing parent, and a fun parent. And those all go together to create that connection with your child.
And then the secondary is also, it's funny because you're like, just be a half parent. It's okay. Like,
Yes,
it's a two
yes,
in one, right?
yes, exactly. That double entendre there, double meaning, be a half parent. Well, that gets into my self-compassion section. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, the bottom line is not everything fit wonderfully into those E.N.R.I.C.H. So I do have another chapter that actually I call leftovers, because there were some other things that I thought were important to mention. I also have an appendix at the end that gives a few more examples, especially like on the humorous. We obviously would not use that example that I used of the gloves with our 17-year-old. That's when possibly sarcasm can work, as long as it's understood that it's not belittling the 17-year-old, because you want to talk about power struggles. That's when you get into power struggles, and sarcasm sometimes can lead into that. So I've given other examples at the end of the book, also a developmental chart, just because sometimes in the book I'll say things like, and even here today I've said age appropriate, of course. Well, somebody may go, I don't know what's really age appropriate. So I went ahead, and it's very, very brief. Listeners, please understand, it's very, very brief. So developmental charts are done by many other organizations, but I put it there just to give an overall sense. But yeah, so we all need to start our day with a little bit of laughter is what I think.
I 100% agree. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I know that you're going to give away a book, but people want to check out where it is and where else to find you and connect. I know you said your website, but kind of give us a little bit of that.
Yep. At the website, which is family, stands for New Hampshire.com, you'll find a link to my book. It is on Amazon, available in paperback and Kindle, and I'm currently working on the audiobook. It's not ready yet, and it might be a little while. Yeah, that's another learning process, which is great. I enjoy it thoroughly. What I'll probably do, though, for the listeners out there, I will probably be posting one chapter on my website. In fact, as your listeners get the book and read the book, they can let me know which chapter they would prefer I do the audio to, and I can upload that one. But at the website, like I said, you'll find the link to the book. You'll find lullabies that I wrote for my 3 sons. And you'll also find my services for consulting, doing workshops, and coaching. I call myself a coach consultant because I do skirt the line between full coaching, which I can do, but also consulting. And most of that is because I do incorporate what I've got in my book, which is a little more of the consultation process. So, yep. So, and you can actually sign up for coaching sessions at my website as well. So
Yeah,
that's what's there.
it's
Yeah, I'd
all
love for people to
there.
visit. Yep.
Well, fantastic. Well, I'm so grateful that you spent the time to chat today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. Thanks a lot, Christy. Bye bye.
Sure. Bye.